a work meeting. The time is 6 p.m. on Thursday, February 5th, 2026. This is a work meeting only. No formal action will be taken on the items. Our first item on the agenda is to introduce Madison Aviles from WFRC. And she's going to discuss with us today moderate income housing strategies. And the discussion with Madison is going to talk about some of the... Do you have a presentation, I believe?
I have a handout,
Okay.
and I'll just walk through some of your previous strategies.
I'll let you take the floor from there.
Okay, I will pass these around. Thank you so much for having me. Is anyone online? Okay.
Jerry's listening in.
Okay, perfect. My name is Madison. I work for Wasatch Front Regional Council. I'm your local administrative advisor, so I help with all administrative assistance. I currently work with 15 total municipalities throughout the region, and Hooper is one of them. So I've had the pleasure working with Malcolm for the last 2 years on your Moderate Income Housing Plan report. And the next report is due, we think, August 1st, unless there are any legislative changes. So I just wanted to take a moment to kind of walk through your current amendment to the general plan for affordable housing, which was last updated in January of 2023. And you can see in the last couple of pages, so page 8, 9, 10, and 11, it really outlines the 3 strategies that you report on every year to DWS for the Moderate Income Housing Plan report. And as a reminder, this is a statutory requirement, and I have stepped in to help because it has been kind of a process to work through. DWS has published a lot of different guidance throughout the years, and we've kind of bounced around with some of our reporting, trying to figure out what was most acceptable. And you can see strategy 1 starts on page 8. So the first strategy that the city selected was to create or allow for reduced regulations related to internal or detached accessory dwelling units in residential zones. And then there are listed milestone tasks and activities. There were planned start dates and planned completion dates, and then current status. So the idea behind the Moderate Income Housing Report was to take each one of these selected strategies. There are, more than a dozen strategies available to municipalities. Municipalities without a fixed guidance station, and so this would be Hooper, would need to select 3 of them to remain within compliance of state statute. And so one of the selected strategies was this strategy number E for ADUs. And so we'll get into this in a moment. The second strategy selected is strategy F. This is again from the state menu of options, and this was to zone or rezone for higher density or moderate income residential development in commercial or mixed use zones near major transit investment corridors, commercial centers, or employment centers. And then you can see again the list of milestone tasks and activities, the planned start and end dates, and the current status. The third strategy is very similar to the last strategy. This is strategy G, so amend land use regulations to allow for higher density or new moderate income residential development in commercial or mixed use zones near major transit investment corridors. And you can see the milestone and tasks are very similar for strategy G, or 3, excuse me. So those are the 3 strategies that were selected by the city initially in 2023 when the city began the Moderate Income Housing Plan report. That was prior to when I started helping. I think two years has passed since I've been working with the city on the reporting side. There have been a few legislative changes since 2023. Like I mentioned, there are about 12 strategies that municipalities can choose from, and to my understanding, Hooper has never changed a strategy. We've continued to report on the same strategies selected in 2023, which has been great. And we've been able to demonstrate progress year over year. Typically, progress that we report on, we'll talk about planning commission discussions, city council discussions, any rezones that may have occurred. We also document like the number of permits.
Do you have his copy of the Hooper City of New?
No.
Sorry.
I passed too many.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Sorry about that.
So we'll report on, in the progress report section of every report, we'll typically report on like parcels, a number of parcels available for development, These are all like metrics used within that the report asks for. The total number of ADU units as reported at the date of the report, total number of business licenses to rent an ADU if that's applicable for the entity. Those are the type of questions that the moderate income housing report asks. For the strategy progress reporting, I just wanted to briefly go over what has been reported in prior years. And so I kind of made a couple of notes from 2023 through 2025. So the 2023 through 2025 report for strategy E, this is again the ADU strategy. We just made a couple of notes about how the city reviewed its ADU policy in 2023 and in 2024, passed Ordinance 2024-04 that amended Title 10, excuse me. And then every year since the initial ordinance adoption, we've reported on possible considerations of allowing variance language or other amendments to the ADU language. So that's sort of an overview for the ADU. For the other two strategies,
Real quick on ADUs,
Yeah.
I just wanted to plug into the council. The planning commission has had a fair amount of interest in updating some of our ADU policy, which Darren's gotten familiarized with. So that's something that you might see come down the pipeline. We referenced it a little bit in our last moderate income housing submission, so you might see some
In
recommendations.
this report that you sent me, the copies of it, there's a lot of stuff in there relative to the ADUs, which I was,
There is legislation right now for ADUs as well, so that might
Change it.
change a little bit of what we've been working on.
Sure. Yeah,
Towards what we-
fundamentally, the planning commission was looking at increasing the allowed size of an external or a detached ADU. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And that is actually helpful. So discussions like that and any progress made relating to ADUs or ADU policy or your ordinances, that would all be documented in the year's report to say, you know, these are the actions that Hooper took to make progress on that strategy. For the second and third strategies that were selected by the city, they're very similar. Most of the reports in prior years have reviewed the R2 and R3 zones and the proposed possible regional lift station to expand sewer service into regions that could be further developed within the city, making more property utility ready or lowering barriers to development. So both of those strategies are pretty similar, and they're both covered really by that discussion of expanded sewer service. So those are the three strategies that the city has selected, and I help with Malcolm documenting any progress made or any changes made throughout the year, and then that report goes to DWS before August 1st every year. We do expect there to be a few legislative changes. There have been a few rumblings on the Hill about a possible change to the report. Last year, we did have several changes to what we call the menu items. So, like I mentioned before, there are about a dozen options that the city can choose from, and so if the city doesn't want to discuss ADUs or make any changes, they may want to choose something like rezoning for densities necessary to facilitate additional moderate income housing.
Or implement a mortgage assistance program for employees of the municipality.
Yes, that's one of the menu options.
wow.
So we've got about a dozen options, and
Proceed.
so cities without a fixed guideway station need to choose 3. If you had a fixed guideway, you need to choose 5. One of the big changes last year, and this is sort of what I wanted to make sure I covered just to see if it were applicable or if conversations were had to implement any of these programs that you knew that it would have a positive impact on your reporting. So the legislature added with HB 37, the Utah Housing Amendments, they added new sub-menu strategies. So in addition to all these strategies, which you're required to pick 3, they have some new kind of bigger, bolder strategies. And the advantage to taking on one of these larger strategies is that you would be considered compliant with your moderate income housing plan report for the first year, and also 2 subsequent reporting years. So you've basically knocked out 3 years of reporting by choosing one as opposed to your 3 existing strategies. This is really advantageous for a community that maybe this is already on the table for you and you're already considering this type of work. If you are going to do this, make sure it's documented in your moderate income housing report, because it means that you can get some of these reports covered for future years. It takes a lot of burden off of the city if you were already to consider one of these. So a couple of examples, these are create a housing and transit reinvestment zone, HTRZ, create a home and ownership promotion zone, the HOPS, create a first home investment zone, also known as a FIZ. Approve a project that receives funding from or qualifies to receive funding from the Utah Homes Investment Program. Adopt or approve a qualifying affordable home ownership density bonus for single-family residential units, or for the same home ownership density bonus for multifamily residential units. And so you can see those are documented in X through CC. So those are kind of like the big, bold, kind of more bang for your buck if you wanted to cut down on your annual reporting. But I like to bring this to your attention only if you're just making sure that if you're going to do one of these, it can really help with your annual reporting. So we expect...
By the way, do those homes have to be newly constructed, or could there be older homes in the community?
That's a good question. I do not know. I can look into it. Yeah.
Which letter was it?
Down AA.
For the density bonuses, it's
Density,
DE,
right.
CC.
I had an opportunity to attend a WACOG meeting this week, and some folks from WFRC were there. And one of the things that was brought up was the ability to partner with the city so that they could do like a demographic study census for us. Is that part of what we've already done here? It was brought up as maybe a value for, under the question of what is affordable housing and what is it affordable in our area. And I know in your handout there's some discussion about kind of our comparative to other cities. And so I'm curious if that fits within this, like if we're moving a step forward towards taking them up on the offer of doing the demographic study to understand what is affordable to our area, what's the census of that information? Is that something that moves us towards our plan or shows a kind of a check in the box of that?
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent way to describe progress in any of your 3 categories. I know really what we've been trying to demonstrate every year is that the city is taking actionable steps towards making progress in any of these 3 strategies that you've chosen. And it can get kind of difficult as we get kind of towards the end of some of these strategies, like the ADU, where if you're sort of wrapping up and you kind of have decided, okay, I've done as much as I'm going to do with our ADU ordinances, we've studied it and we're kind of closing it out, that would be an excellent one to say, well, we actually want to like apply this and figure out how it can interact with this strategy. Whereas we may also want to think about closing out a strategy if we're at the tail end and we've decided that there's no more room that we can make progress in. So something like that is something I would definitely document within 1 or more, or maybe all of your strategies.
So does the statute require that we continue this forever, or can we achieve it? Can we essentially say, we've completed our strategy, we've achieved it, kind of get off our backs on it?
Yeah. Right now, my understanding is that when and I have not gone through this process with a community yet, we've been able to continue to kind of demonstrate, even if it's a little bit of progress, we've been able to demonstrate progress. But there is a way to close out a strategy. And so we discussed this last year when we started talking about, as we get to the tail end of some of these, what do we do to close them out? So what DWS has asked is that we close out the strategy and replace it with a new one, and you select a new one from this menu option. We expect some changes to be made. Like, I think there will be some changes either to the menu option or to the process or to the whole reporting as a whole.
Right.
My understanding is that we'll probably see some changes, so I've been kind of hesitant to go full steam ahead until the end of the legislative session. So right now we're just kind of monitoring. My advice to the city would be before August 1st, really have a good understanding if you want to close out a strategy, because you can't close it out after, I think it's June 30th, after the end of your fiscal year. I can double check on the end of the closeout period, but you would need to decide to close out a strategy prior to the end and then select your new strategy. But I've been hesitant to recommend doing that until the end of the legislative session, just because I think we'll see some changes.
Makes sense.
This might be just to add on to your question, but so if you haven't completed a strategy, you can roll it over, and still get credit for that without keeping to add another strategy in addition to that.
Yes.
See, that's been a little bit of a misunderstanding, I think, in the past. Sometimes we've felt we've had strategies and they're ongoing, and then they want to know, okay, well, now what are you doing? Well, we haven't finished the one we initially had in place. So.
Yes, and I actually went through this with DWS last year because when I've been helping several entities with their reports, and I was getting kind of mixed feedback, municipality to municipality, where I felt like we were demonstrating some level of action or actionable progress city to city, but I was getting a different response back from DWS on these reports. I noticed when I went to their moderate income housing report content page today, they actually added a new section within their page. And so specifically it says, subsequent progress report. So in the years following your initial report, which would be your last 2 years and this upcoming year, subsequent progress reports should include land use regulations and or decisions made by the community in the previous 12 months to implement their moderate income housing strategies. One of the questions we brought up was, we feel like a lot of the work that the municipalities are doing are before the 12-month reporting period, but are still impacting in the current reporting period. So DWS added that you may include actions taken before the 12-month reporting period as an ongoing action if it clearly supports the moderate income housing strategy from the initial report. And they gave examples of a previously adopted ordinance, approved land use application, made an investment, or approved an agreement or financing. And the new report shows the action is still helpful in making the progress on the strategy. And I think that was really good for us to be able to show that we can take actions that were made not only in the last 12 months, but also prior, to show that we're still making, like, nothing's going to get wrapped up in a bow within 12 months. And we don't need to make all new actions every 12 months on one strategy. We just need to continue to demonstrate that we're supporting the original selected strategy.
And I think an ADU is a typical example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was our strategy, but we can't control how many are going to be built a year, but we do feel like it's going to be ongoing. There'll be some more built next year. There may be some more built the year after that.
Yeah.
So the question, that can still be used as a viable strategy, even though it's ongoing for several years. We don't have to wrap that up, so to speak.
Yeah, correct. We didn't receive we didn't receive a non-compliance letter from DWS last year in our report of our progress on ADUs, on Hooper's progress on ADUs, which I thought was really positive. It was a positive response. And so when I am thinking about our next report due August 1st for ADUs here in Hooper, I'm thinking about some of the conversations that we've had about handling possible variances. Should we consider variances for ADUs? That's part of the process, right? Ongoing, handling the ADU. How do we handle, for example, do we need to amend any business license requests, or will there be business licensing? Continuing to juggle kind of the demands of ADU on the city, I would recommend continuing the report on that within the next year's report. And to me, that's still progress in supporting the adoption of ADUs and the existence of ADUs within your city. I think we were pretty successful last year, and that was basically what was documented in our report, and we didn't have any issue with DWS when that was reported. So
I think the ADU one will be fine, assuming that some of these recommendations from the Planning Commission are entertained and, worked on. I think the ADU one should be good. I just wanted to piggyback. I think the big thing is it takes a little bit of time to report on it, so I just want to make sure that you guys like the strategies and you feel like those are things you want to put effort and work into, so that we're getting there. I know one of them should be pretty easy this year because we have a grant to do some general plan continuation where we're gonna get a little bit more specific on what types of commercial go where and what types of zoning we'll permit. So that should help us meet probably the second strategy pretty well. The other one's always felt a little bit like a stretch. You probably noticed in our report we tend to talk about sewer a lot, or lack thereof, and then we tend to stretch that for like our third strategy often. I don't know if we just want to maybe, I'm not saying, but like there's other strategies like MSRA, investment in rehabilitation, expansion of infrastructure that facilitates construction of modern income housing. I don't really care how we do it, but the sewer kind of has to come before some of these. But I just wanted to make sure you guys like the strategies and that as you guys are going throughout the year, the things we're working on are adding to those strategies so they're meaningful. Otherwise, it just feels kind of like we're just doing it to do it. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask on the, strategy 2 and 3, milestone dated December 2024, work to provide sewer to R2 and R3 areas.
yeah,
Both of those are 2 years behind the projected completed date. And so what does that mean for us in like compliance of, we say we've got these strategies, but we haven't done it, and it's 2 years out, it hasn't shown completed. That was the projected date. Am I understanding that correctly, that it's something that,
what page, where are you at?
on page 10 and 11, so strategy 2, which was F, and strategy 3, which was G, the milestone that's next to complete says work to provide sewer service to areas zoned R2 and R3 by December 2024, and it doesn't show that we've completed that, and that seems 2 years beyond what we said we'd try to have it done.
Yeah, I would imagine that one's referencing Rawson Ranch. R3 though. Oh, that's probably referring to R.75. It's probably Rawson Ranch and the contemplated like Torgailey development that they were able to sewer with that new lift station.
Yeah.
It's kind of ongoing, I guess. Rawson's in, so it's complete to that extent, but
Yeah.
there's more development that'll come. But yeah,
I'm just curious if we're like, these are our strategies and we're like sending this to the state or whatever, we're saying like, hey, this is what we're doing. My eye just immediately went to just 2 years out of compliance on what we said we would do. And so I'm wondering, is there a way for us to either move that forward or decide if that's a strategy we still want to be pushing for?
yeah, there's a way to move it forward for sure, but it's kind of up to you guys as we do it.
Sure.
So if we got yelled at about that?
No.
Would we?
No, but the hold off on that one, to be frank, the hold off, and if I'm understanding this correctly, is we have a couple developers that'll probably do a project there that'll tie into that same sewer. It's just currently zoned R1,
Okay.
which is fine.
Yeah, I'm curious. I just
But
see it and I'm like, is that,
R1's been a deterring factor for that zone.
Okay.
But
So if we have the strategy, I mean, if the city has set up the strategy, but no one comes in and wants to do it, what if we don't
that's a
have a
good point.
builder?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
I mean, is that,
that's a
I mean, if
fair
we've made
point,
the,
yeah.
on our end, we've done the provisions
Mhm.
to allow for it, but maybe
Yeah.
no one's taken advantage of it or whatever.
And I think that's one of the challenges that we're facing with this report and with the reporting, and I think that that's why I hope we'll see more changes. I think between the second and third strategy, I think that we've been trying to stretch that language. We've been trying to be pretty stretchy and making it work. I think particularly this last report, I really tried to separate the second strategy from the third strategy, tried to keep sewer in second, and tried to kind of elaborate more on your subdivision ordinance and other actions that were taken by the city for 3. But I think it's been getting increasingly hard to kind of split the two and show measurable progress when, like you said, we've got the challenge of the private side not wanting to also come to the table. And so we've been pretty creative about what we've been able to include in the report with like the subdivision ordinance, and there are always actions that the planning commission and the city council take every year that can help contribute to these, right? It's pretty much all of the work that the planning commission does we can kind of document within these strategy answers, but I agree. I think it's challenging when we've brought it almost as far as we think we can bring it, and then there can be no other action taken. These deadlines, these were all deadlines that the city created for itself. So I think, maybe one of the things, if Hubbard does want to keep these strategies for the next reporting year, maybe a recommendation would be to go in and make some amendments to these strategies, review the milestone and tasks, and think about, are there any other actions that the city can take with updated planned completion dates? That would be an excellent way to show progress in another year's report, in my opinion, until if you wanted to not select a new menu item this year, if you wanted to wait for a future year to report on a different menu item.
So if we're doing everything we possibly can to make these things work and they don't meet what the state, what can they do to us?
That's a good question. I've not brushed up on my moderate income housing report penalties.
There's certain funds.
There are-
Yeah, transit,
Yeah,
like
we
road.
should.
Oh, dang.
You mean the bus stop we used to have,
Yeah.
they took
I
our
mean, I'm sorry, but I just,
I hear you, yeah.
I got.
Well, there was
problems
a penalty for road funds as well. Yes. I don't know if that's still, that when it first came out, that was a big deal.
BNC may have been on the table at one point. I don't
Right.
think it currently is, but
Sorry.
When I guess to that point, to your point, Larry, you brought up the flip side, but to exactly what I said, I just hope that whatever we're working on isn't just working on it, right? Like, because to your point, we don't. If we're just doing it just to do it,
Yeah.
it's not very meaningful. So I hope they're intrinsically motivated. Like, it's not like, oh, what's gonna happen if we don't? It's like, no, we genuinely want to do this because we want to do it. Otherwise, it just feels like busy work. So.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because, I mean, what do we want to do? Is this fit the plan for Hooper? One of the things that the League of Cities continuously says is one size misfits all. You've probably heard that being said a lot at legislature and stuff, and that is kind of a truth statement here, is like, some of this stuff is a complete misfit for who we are and what we want to do here. So does any of this align with what we want to do, and can we use some of this as tools to help us get to where we want to get? And then we satisfy not only the reporting, but we're actually getting some stuff done that we want to do here, not just checking a box. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right.
All right. Any other
I mean, the part
discussions from Madison?
I struggle with is the data. I mean, almost every one of the strategies mentions moderate income housing. Okay, number one, what's the definition of moderate income housing?
Yeah.
Does anybody really have a definition of that? How much is that? You know, you read page 2 right here in this report, and it says that affordable housing, according to this, is a $100,000 household income has a purchase price of $476.30, $2,500 a month. And then it goes down from there, 80%, 50%, 30%. But the struggle is the data. I mean, the 2020 median property value is $334. U.S. Census Bureau identifies the median value of homes in Hooper at $371. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know a single house in our city that's $334,
Not even close.
right? So
My
where,
property tax is different.
right? So how are we going
You're
off all
335,
these
right?
things of moderate income housing, all this data, when the data isn't even correct?
Right.
You know, that's what I struggle with. And how do we attain a goal of moderate income housing if it's so unattainable to begin with?
And another pandemic can change that within a matter of 6 months.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things that I was mentioning, the WFRC said that they could do for us is they would do it for free, a demographic study that would let us look exactly at, because that question was asked at the WACOG meeting. Everyone said the same thing, what is affordable housing? And they said they could sit down with us and it would be free of charge, and they would put together an entire kind of demographic census to tell us what would affordable look like in our community.
Per area, like they would come.
Yeah, they offered it to all cities for free
Sweet.
at that meeting.
We need that.
I'll
You
circle
know,
back.
Please.
You take again a city like Cooper, it's not like we're not growing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look around, how many houses are being, scheduled to be built now and have been in the last year? I mean, wonder if you're growing, and maybe we're growing as fast as other cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if they're,
prorated,
but what if
basically,
they're, what if they're more expensive houses? Like
Yeah.
I mean, there should be something to that.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, and a great point of discussion is we can't tell the developers what to build, and maybe they don't want to build. They might want to build these 3/4 acre, more expensive lots in Hooper because that's what people want to buy in Hooper, and so it's not like we're able to go tell the developer, well, this is all we want. You know what I mean?
Especially if it's zoned that way. If they're
Yeah.
complying with the zoning, we
Yeah.
can't say no.
Right.
And I know the two subdivisions, like this one that's just north of the church down here, and the one down at Cottom's, are both, acre and 3/4 acre lots. There's not gonna be a house in either one of them. It's gonna be less than $750,000 and probably $1 million by the time they get done. Cause the lots are crazy out here anymore, so.
Yeah, the lot starts at $250.
Yes.
I mean, and then we're saying we need a house for $334.
Yeah, not likely.
Where's that gonna happen?
The only cheap lots in Hooper are down at the cemetery.
Right.
And I don't think they're building one. No, I don't know how we're supposed to apply there online. Doesn't make sense.
All right. Any other discussion for Mrs. Diaz? Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Hearing no more discussion, then we will move into our next item on the agenda, which is our city council assignment reports. I do have a report and then one for the mayor that I did, as mentioned, a formality.
Just really quickly, there is fees if we are not participating in this. There would be per day fee, up to $500 according to the code.
Penalty?
It's shall pay a fee to the Olene Walker Housing Loan Fund. So we have to be
$500
a day.
But if we're trying to participate, does that count?
I will say that the city has received a non-compliance letter in the past. It was a technicality. We corrected it. It did not result in a fine.
Okay.
So if we submit a report and there is any issue, they'll send us back their findings. We can correct them and there are no monetary fines.
And then there is like several grants that are mentioned here that we wouldn't have access to if we're not complying. So
Okay.
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
How'd you find that so fast?
Google.
just trying to
So,
read the code.
next thing on our agenda is city council assignment reports. So I've got some updates, like I said, and then as a matter of formality, I apologize I didn't do this earlier. I want to formally excuse Mayor Bingham. She's sick. She's home. She is attending on Zoom, but just in a observe-only capacity. She won't be available to take questions or interact with the meeting, so I'll be operating fully as pro tem today.
She did actually say, though, that if we had a specific question we needed to ask her, she
Yeah.
could answer that.
She said that, and we kind of advised that she stay.
Well,
She's sick.
I
She's
agree
not-
with that.
she-
No,
you know.
I told her to go to bed. Lucy.
So that being said, I'll read her report first. It's she sent a copy to everyone. Hopefully, you had an opportunity to review it. It's discussing the option of providing sewer infrastructure and connections to some parts of the west side of Hooper that currently do not have sewer capabilities. She included a background in there. Essentially, with the construction of the vacuum sewer system in 2007, it was determined that there was not the possibility of financially or physically providing a sewer to all residents of Hooper. Went on to tell some background of West Point and pretty much called to the fact that there is a grant that can be applied for that will provide funding for this project. Says the grant through Congressman Blake Moore's office and the EPA Community Grants Resource Funds. JUB will be writing the grant, and they feel we would have a great opportunity to receive these funds. We can ask for up to $5 million, which is 80% of the grant, and 20% is a local match. Then there is an opportunity.
Was that 5 or was it 55? I thought it was 55 on the when I read
It
it.
says $5 million on the
5 million.
report. Yeah. And then there's an opportunity to team up with West Point City or Weber County to help meet the local match. Councilman Robledo, she did tee up that you would be the one to lead this discussion. You got anything you want to add to it?
I think you just said everything that she told me.
Okay.
And but she did mention that she would like us to apply for this grant and then try to work with Weber County and who was the other one? West Point, to see if we can even get into this without hardly any expense. And I think we only have 30 days to apply for it.
Okay.
And she said if they approve it and then we decide not to use it, we just turn it back in.
So what was our matching funds portion here?
20%. So
20%.
it's $1 million. But
Did you guys want a little background on that?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
we'd
can
love
give us
that.
your-
I was saying something, Madison, but you're talking about that grant. What did you say right before that?
The JUB grant that JUB's writing for, should be writing for this. Now, I know as a work meeting, we're not taking any formal action, but we just wanted to discuss what this would look like.
Yeah, let me just show you a quick visual, just to help grasp a little bit where the discussion stems from. So probably in like back in like 2020 or 2021, there was a plan, a sewer master plan done for Hooper, and this is West Hooper here. These are all lift stations. There's 7 of them. You can see it pumps all of it to an existing station, and that goes to Central Weber. The estimated cost, I added them up. I'd have to get the year to add a little more perspective, but the estimated cost on this sewer plan, somewhere around 22 million at those days dollars.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, well, that was those days dollars. 22 million. It's probably a little more now. Taylor, our engineer, has really like this concept of, this is the second half of that. It does not the whole, so it stops right here at 55. Here's 55. Here's 55. All of this can gravity feed south. So instead of pumping it all north, you could gravity feed. It's all, and this is where it gets out, I don't know. It's all dependent on this lift station right here being built. West Point did all that sewer work. You guys are probably more familiar with it than me. I was an hour, but they did all this sewer work, and there's a lift station that's all designed, ready to go. And they ran out of money. So Taylor's been talking with West Point, and he kind of has this grand scheme that if we could participate with West Point to an extent, if they got our vice versa, that this could be completed, and then developers would be a little bit more incentivized to come lay the pipelines that could gravity feed down to this, and then instead of going to Central Weber, the sewer would go to Central Davis. So
North Davis.
North Davis.
So it would flow instead of suck,
It would
right?
flow instead of suck. There you go. That's
It
it. That's
flows
all you-
and pushes.
the cost
You still
relative.
got to push
Yeah,
it.
you
It's
still-
got
I'm not sure the cost comparisons are apples to apples because those were like 5 years ago dollars. That 22 million for our old sewer plan that I showed you. This new one, this is a $6 million station that needs to be done. It wouldn't be ours entirely, right? It'd be, West Point's as well, but it'd be theirs, but we'd be feeding to it. And then I don't know. I mean, this is half of the pipeline compared to that. I don't know how much that would cost, but I mean, this whole, I don't know. Who
I got
knows?
a crazy
So,
question.
There's your idea. That's the concept here. That's where this
All
is
right.
all stemming from.
I got 100 questions.
So in that
What
line,
happened to me?
in that line,
Just
David,
write them down and talk to the engineer.
and all you guys will know way better than I do on this possibility because I've heard the history and all this stuff. Reason why we went with a vacuum system, and maybe I'm too dumb to know how this works. But what if we just get out on John Buse's land and dig a big old hole, and we just feed our own sewage treatment plan, and we treat our own water, and then we give that back to people to irrigate with? What if
It's
we
been a thought. I mean,
That
that's
bill just went up times 5.
did it? That's what I'm curious. I'm genuinely
Yeah, the
like,
sewer treatment
is-
plants. I think Stephanie Russell looked into it once for us, and it was like astronomical, like unbelievable, like hundreds of millions type thing. But
Okay.
I don't know.
well, I'm just saying.
But I don't know. I'm just saying what I've heard. I have no idea. I don't know anything about it.
I will tell you something that I just heard there that aggravated the crap out of me, is that was potentially funded 30 years ago by the federal government. We had the option to do exactly what you're saying, but the residents of Hooper balked so bad we didn't do it. John had the contract in his hand from the feds to put a station down there, a processing station, a sewer plant on his property, but there was such an uproar in Hooper that it got thrown
Well,
out
let
the
me,
window.
if you guys are okay, I don't want to interject too much. Let me just summarize real quick, maybe what I feel like the root of this is, because I understand the logistics of it and the reality of it feels far-fetched and hard to wrap your mind around, but the reality of it, I suppose, is at one point the city spent a lot of money to get the sewer plant done. It hasn't, from the last 5 years, nothing's occurred out here. Every developer comes in, if anything, we've maybe had a reverse effect. We allow less septic tank development than we did before. We've updated some things. We don't want this to be developed out on septic tanks because every time a developer comes in and does a 30-lot subdivision with $30,000 septic tanks for 30 homes, that's money that could have gone into infrastructure that just went into septic tanks that homeowners bought. So we don't have any development going on out here really other than onesie-twosies.
County won't allow it.
yeah, that's not our call. Yeah,
A 30-lot subdivision septic tank.
Oh, they'll allow it. Yeah, they're doing one in Warren right now. Yeah, I know Davis County, Weber County.
I was told.
Davis County has a 10-acre minimum, so essentially a moratorium. They don't call it that.
Well, that's going to change.
10-acre minimum. We're much stricter than Weber County, kind of by most recent updates, which is good. It was kind of my opinion. I didn't think we should develop out on septic tank. I think it's a poor plan for the city. So, anyways, here we are. This is what we presented to Hooper as an idea. We've not done anything with it, and I don't know if we ever will. It's expensive. It's costly. We hate vacuum. This is all. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But so this has kind of been an alternative, conceptual, but it's big and hairy, and so I don't know. But that's where this whole idea stems from. Is do we want to try and get some funds to help incentivize growth that way or not?
Now, does that serve Weber County and the Davis County side?
Would this new idea?
That pump station down there, yes.
Yeah, that new idea would.
Because, like, think of the taxes too. How does that bill? Like, on all of our taxes, we get central Weber charge. Are we going to get double dip by Davis County now too?
I don't know.
See, that's my whole thing, is we're already connected to Central Weaver. So unless we can come up with a plan to send it all to North Davis, like the existing system,
I think they.
Then we have two systems.
I think this is none of this. I think they looked into it, and I don't think any of this is annexed into Central Weber yet. Like we're not required to go there, but the rest of us is. But
What, is there a possibility of taking our existing sewer and connecting it to this system and sending it all over North Davis?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm
Yeah,
not so
flip the
sure.
switch, go the other way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stephanie Russell actually, I think, did a concept. of
Maybe we
that.
do an
Okay,
RFP.
she talked to her, she suggested we look into.
Anyway, I'll be quiet now. I just wanted to add some background. So that's kind of the discussion.
So I guess as far as the mayor's update, any other discussion as far as I mean, that is, $1 million is a lot. It looks less when it's 20%. It looks a lot more when you say $1 million, right?
Yeah, but she was pretty confident that it would be a whole lot less than that by getting
Some
the
grants.
others to
Like West Point to throw in.
Weber County
Yeah.
to get a grant from them and West Point. And I don't, these grants, I don't understand how they all work.
Sure.
But I know Sherry does.
How much is $5 million really going to pay for?
That's the other thing, is just like, what,
So that lift station has $6 million left to be completed. The one that's
So it would
planned.
pay for a lift
It would pay for that lift station, yeah.
So
And I guess the idea is with that incentivize developers to say, well, now I'm within, I don't know how long those are, 400 feet of a lift station. I'm willing to do that much that much sewer line or not. I don't know. That's kind of the. And then also there's a lot to work out with West Point, right? Obviously.
Yeah,
a lot.
I'd be very leery with working with West.
Would you for sure check, because I'm with Ryan on I think there's a 10-acre.
Davis County does. Alan Karras was just in here today. He's doing a 30-lot subdivision in Warren right now. All
but
septic. So Alan Karras can do that if they have that.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know Davis County does, but I think Weber County is pretty agreeable. Weber County was just about to approve one here on Brent Jones's property. They were okay with 30 homes on Brent Jones's.
Oh,
On septic.
They were. We weren't.
On septic tank.
Oh yeah. We don't have sewer.
So I don't know, me and Ryan are smoking crack here because I was not.
Yeah. Anyways, neither here nor there.
They're not really,
Or
for the
never-
record.
For the record. Any other thoughts or questions on this as far as the update? I mean, it's just a discussion point, but it is something we probably want to consider if it makes a difference at all. I know we're not making decisions in this meeting, but it's at least worth the discussion. So I've got a couple updates just from my areas that I've been covering, and we'll open it up to everyone else if you have updates. So I got an opportunity to attend the WACOG meeting as pro tem for the mayor this week on Monday. And just some big points I want to call out for us as a city we should be aware of. The first and foremost, the mayor of Harrisville stood up and gave a presentation on stormwater. And he said he got something like a $40,000 fine because they've been dumping stormwater into irrigation. And he just wanted to make all the cities, all the mayors aware in those cities that this was something he had to deal with, and he wondered why he had to deal with it alone, and if should it be everybody's portion or what was causing that. And so he didn't indicate to where exactly, how it was assessed and all that stuff. He kind of just gave a brief discussion on it, but said everyone should be aware with a lot of the new ordinances. So I did talk to Malcolm a little bit and Jared today, just kind of about the idea that with these new ordinances we can't dump stormwater into irrigation. And so what could this cause if we did that? And so
where our irrigation is separate, Hooper irrigation, they do not allow stormwater coming into
Yeah.
irrigation water.
yeah, so it may be a non-issue, but when he brought it up, he just put everyone on notice
Yeah.
that he got hit with this. And we're not sure if the state assistant, I know that we're going through the audit for our stormwater. Is there any overlap we're going to find in that audit? Is there anything that we, but when he said, he's new mayor, just got elected, and he's going, I got hit with this fine, and so I wanted to bring it to our attention, at least for knowledge
That's great.
of something. It may be a moot point and not an issue for us. The other thing that was the biggest topic was this affordable home ownership thing, and every city asked the same question: what's affordable? And the big thing that was said, and one of the things I think is valuable for us, is Speaker of the House stood up and he actually said, stacked housing doesn't fit in a place like Hooper, and said he's not in support of this idea of preemption and taking away our zoning regulations. So I thought it was great that he stood up for that and said it. But there was some discussion because essentially the governor has said, yes, I said preemption is a last-ditch effort, but I feel like we're at this last ditch. What are we going to do for it? What's our plan? And one of the things that the Utah League of Cities has said is their biggest argument or their biggest point that they have to advocate for cities retaining the right to zoning is showing partnerships. How are they showing that they're working with partnerships? So I just made a note of that. So I just said they emphasize local partnership-based examples are the best tool they have to counter preemption right now. And some of the suggestions that were made were cities doing things like deed-restricted owner occupancy. Maybe we offer a smaller lot option for people, but we put a deed restriction. So Ogden talked about how what they did is they give a 10-year requirement. If you're the owner, you have to occupy that property for 10 years if it's on a smaller lot. And the way they enforce that is they require a commercial license for landlords. So if you're going to rent that out, you have to have a commercial license. Now, people can still try to shirk the rule and not do it, but it enforces in the long run. And they actually said they see a lot of voluntary enforcement where people come in and once they decide that they're going to be a landlord and rent out that property, they have to show the plat and see that they've owned it for longer than that period of time if it was under a deed restriction. And so that's one way that they've kind of countered this, where they've said, well, we don't want people just building small lots and renting them out, so it fits for them. That may not be the exact problem we're trying to solve, but that was one tool that they used. Another thing that was brought up is there's a bill before the House right now in legislature that is creates a funding mechanism for cities to apply for whenever housing is delayed due to infrastructure reasons like our sewage. So essentially what it is this funding would allow any city to apply for it if the nexus of it has to be that we're trying to achieve affordable housing. So whatever that looked like, if we were to say this subdivision is an area we're zoning affordable housing and we've got to deal with this developer, but we got to put in sewage, then we could apply for essentially this fund that would allow any city with that nexus. So I thought that was at least another tool that maybe is going to be beneficial for us to be able to look at if we decide that we want to address affordable housing in a specific way, and that could also pay for maybe some of our infrastructure needs, then that's a benefit. But the biggest piece of everything that was mentioned at this thing was just that one size misfits all, that just the government is looking to come and say, we're putting in preemption if you're not doing something. And so my biggest takeaway from every city locally here in Weber County is the same we're saying. We want to decide. How do we decide? And so we need to be figuring out that piece. My last update is on my emergency preparedness. So I wanted to share CERT is doing a training coming up. And so they offer a free online training that you can go through. And then there's a $40 fee for in-person portion at CERT. And that training, they're going to be Thursday evenings, April 16th, 23rd, and 30th, May 7th, from 6 to 9. So if anybody's interested in getting CERT trained for our city, we want to make sure that that's something that's available. I think it's in our newsletter as well. But just making sure that we have folks who want to get that done. And then I'm going to mention this as far as events coming up, but there was a group that came and spoke called Battle Forge Foundation, and they just offered some really great insight on ways they're supporting not only veterans, but also first responders, police officers who've dealt with PTSD. They're building a shooting range in Plain City that they're going to let them use. And they talked about how shooting is a great therapy for folks that have been in those fields, and they're putting that out in Plain City, and they want to work with other local municipalities in ways that they can support our veterans and first responders and police officers as they've gone through traumatic things in their careers, help suicide prevention and all that. But I thought it was a really great presentation that they provided. So I don't have any updates for Youth Council. Anyone else have updates in your areas?
I haven't scheduled any meetings for animal control, so I got nothing.
I listened to my Weber County Sheriff's Zoom today, and lasted a total of 4 minutes.
Wow.
And so obviously there wasn't
Much zoomed.
much there.
Did you see the meeting on the 24th coming up for the sheriff's office? Talking about the 10-year full-time equivalent jobs they're proposing to add.
No,
That's
it's on the
It's on
24th
the
there.
24th at 6 p.m. So that'd be something some of us ought to go to. Because
I will be out of town
that'll
that
raise
week.
our taxes, or our portion, quite significantly.
Our contract, right?
Our
It's gonna
contract.
rate it will.
Mhm.
My oldest daughter is actually, she's federal, but she's cross-deputized Weber County, but she told me just recently that I believe the month before last, Weber County lost 9 deputies in 1 month that went to other places because of pay disparity basically from there.
And they've been dealing with that for how many
Yeah,
years?
a
For
long
years
time.
and years. Yeah, and the hard thing about that is how do we get the county to, do that? I mean, and then of course, then we get our share. I mean, We're probably pushing close to $1 million now, basically, for law enforcement. When we get the new, we're gonna get bumped like probably over $100,000, aren't we? That's gonna put us up, I don't know, $800,000-900,000 a year.
Well, we got about 10 minutes left. Any other updates anybody wants to give in your respected areas? Okay.
There probably will be.
I know, probably sooner than later.
Yeah.
I guess I could say on the Water District Board, they had one member that passed away, and so they're going to appoint someone. That appointee can be outside of that district, that they would represent, but they'll just serve as long as what was left over from the fellow that died.
Yeah.
And then someone will have to be elected from that
Yeah.
area. That's the only
Material
yeah, I
update.
mean, that's not the greatest update, but that's so.
That's too bad. So just next discussion item, just discussion of proposed goals project. So Larry, you placed this on here for us to talk about. I know in our discussion you had mentioned just wanting to get an idea of kind of where we're headed, and then the next piece was the discussion of reading letters from citizens by council members. There was another piece you placed on there, so I don't know if you want to.
So that first one, there's probably not time to do that, but
Okay.
that second one is about the letters, us reading them up there from individuals, and after one was read, and I didn't have a problem with it being read until I got the phone call the next day, and he says, why, and this guy told me, why would I ever want to go there when I could give it to one of the councilmen to read that has more authority than me speaking behind here? And then it was discussed, and
Yep.
I thought, well, that's a good point. And then since then I've had a lady ask me the same question and that, and there's one
Well,
letter
Larry,
that-
do you mind just as a matter of formality, since it's on the agenda as C, is everyone okay with us tabling discussion C? So we can move into section D on the work meetings. Anybody got any opposition to us skipping over that, or is anyone pretty excited to talk about our goals and what? Okay, so we'll go ahead and table that for another time, and then we'll move on to D. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, there was one letter that Councilman Fowers read that I could have read the same letter and gave the other side of that and made it look the other way. So my question is, what do we want to do about these? Or I don't know if there's an ordinance or that says anything about it now, or just what's you guys' thoughts?
I would have to ask you that have been here for a while, is there a rule that, because I've been finding that
never-
there's rules that have been in place for certain things. Like, is there a rule that
I'm
maybe,
not aware of a rule that says we couldn't do
is there a
that.
rule that people on Zoom can't discuss? Okay, I was just asking.
Like a rule that says you got to be present.
You gotta be present,
Yeah.
because the city I work for in South Salt Lake, they have that rule that you can show up and watch on Zoom, but you don't have the ability to discuss. You have to be there and present. That's one of their rules.
So you guys got any thoughts on that, or?
You have more experience with it.
I just never had an issue with it, it's never come up.
Just that one. So it was just a one-time deal then?
I can tell you my opinion.
Go for it.
My opinion is more from like a procedural courtesy type thing. So my thought is, how do we choose not to cherry pick what we're reading? And how do we make sure we're reading everything? Are we only reading everything, or are we reading what people have specifically and explicitly asked us to read? And then additionally, just for me, because I don't have the years here that y'all have, I don't have any way to verify that this person writing me is a constituent of mine. So I'm reading an opinion in open public forum, but how do I know that's a person who even lives here and is who they say they are? I don't have a way of verifying that email. I don't have a way of verifying it's not the same as seeing the person in person. So my opinion is I have no problem responding to the emails I receive if I feel a response is appropriate. But I would not be of the opinion that reading them, I could stand on to say I even know that's who they say they are, and that it's it's consistent. So I would be in favor of not reading them for those reasons. That's my opinion.
Well, and a lot of the emails we'd receive may take longer than 3 minutes to
Yeah.
read. So then you would be kind of lining through
You would have
things.
to unpack, wouldn't you?
through that, so,
Yeah.
And I can definitely see that would get out of hand, and
Yeah.
people are already saying, oh, why would I come to the meeting? I just
Sure.
sent the other way.
Yeah,
Now, if that gets out, we could be here all day.
yeah.
Reading letters.
So, yeah, I can see definitely putting some restrictions on it, for sure.
Okay, well,
And it might be as simple as not making an ordinance or a rule or that, or just us just saying, you know what, can you have somebody else come read it here and just kind of
Sure.
leave it.
What's your thoughts, council?
If you guys want to adopt a rule, I mean, we'd have to do that and have a motion for it. That's not on the agenda for
Right.
today. But if you, I mean, if you're just talking, as you just said, just individually, if you're just thinking,
Well, I think it goes along with the same thing with our Zoom things we've been talking about. You know, we had this Zoom thing imposed upon us because of COVID. Are we gonna abide by those same rules? Are we gonna dismiss that? We're gonna change it? You know, what are we doing with Zoom? And then to go along with it, what are we gonna do with this thing that just came up?
yeah, we could change the
I
rule.
agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And being somebody who's had to attend by Zoom, I recognize we don't have clear language on it. So I don't understand what is explicit and what I should be adhering to if I need to attend virtually, or if that's even an option, or if it's something we want to be an option.
It is an option.
Yeah.
So it is, we have adopted a rule
Yeah.
according to, and in accordance with state code that allows for you to show up Zoom and vote.
Okay,
So if you guys want to change that, then we would have to change that specific rule that we've adopted.
okay, that makes sense.
Have you guys had in the past to deal with that a lot as far as?
well, we went through COVID.
That was
Yeah,
So
but
that's the
since
only way we
COVID,
could do it.
that was
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
since
Not
COVID, we
really.
haven't had to deal with it at all. Like, I don't remember the last time we had somebody vote over Zoom.
That's me.
Until you did.
I will tell you that I think if it's something where we would allow, not that I set a standard, but I do think that we should have adherence to like a lit background. You can see the person, you clearly can articulate they're in a place where they're not being disrupted.
No, I think they need to be
Yeah, they can't have
sequestered.
people walking in the
basically.
background,
Yeah, the puppy
Yeah.
shouldn't be in the front, shouldn't have their phone in their hands, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So for me, I was in a secure place. I set a professional background. I made it a point to be visible and audible. So I would say that those type of expectations should be in place if we're allowing.
Well, this is just kind of a takeoff from what you've said on,
Yeah.
on written emails that we
Sure.
might get. It might be good to just reach out to that person that wrote us and said, would you be willing to come?
Yeah.
And you come share it.
Yeah,
And just see what their take
Yeah.
would be on that. So.
yeah, I think that
If
would
it's
be
important enough, I think they would show, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, if they, I would, that'd be my take, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a
So-
time I couldn't attend prior when I wasn't elected, and I had my wife come read on my behalf.
There you go.
Yeah,
So should, rather than take all the time to make a rule and that,
Yeah.
just kind of.
well, we can't decide any action items
Right.
in
Yeah,
this meeting.
we can't
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, we can't make a decision on it.
We're,
because-
we're just discussing it. I think we were thinking about possibly changing the rule or repealing the rule, or so.
Okay.
But
It's important to know whatever we decide, yeah,
Yep.
to discuss it. All right, well, any other,
Just for clarification, the minutes are from January the 8th. Is that correct?
I think there's two of them.
Yeah, there's two.
yeah, there's two.
So we met on the second Thursday of January,
Yes.
and then the 22nd.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry.
So can I ask this question real quick on those minutes? There's a couple things that we talked about. One was we tabled about the Riverdale thing that was on those minutes. So what happens to those? Do they just go
Well,
away,
on
or
the
do we
table.
have to report back and say, hey, we got to bring this back up? Because I haven't heard nothing since then. And
It should be brought back up.
How do they get
so
revived?
whose responsibility is that, or?
So we have one that we're working on in December that was tabled.
yeah,
And so I think it's the person, in my opinion, I think it's the person that motions to table it should be responsible for making sure it comes back
Yeah.
around.
or staff. Sometimes a date certain is important when you're doing a table.
Yeah.
Say I table this, so we'll bring it back
On that day.
on the first
So then it's
month.
recorded?
First, yeah.
Because there's some minutes that we're gonna do today, that there was, I think, 2 or 3 of these that are in there. I was just curious, do we still approve the minutes then, and just, okay.
We're gonna adjourn this
Because-
and reconvene the regular session.
It's stuff in the League of Cities that, and I'm gonna get you one, Dale, too. They have some really creative ideas in here of stuff other cities have done to help with affordable housing stuff. I mean, like, there's some good ideas in there.
I now call to order the Hooper City Council regular meeting. The time is 7 p.m. on Thursday, February 5th, 2026. I would like to formally excuse Mayor Bingham, who is attending by Zoom. She is sick, and so I'm conducting my duties as Mayor Pro Tem. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance by myself, and then we will follow that up by reverence by Councilmember Hancock. So if you'll all join me in the pledge.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before you tonight, the city council meeting, we would ask that we might be guided here by the Holy Spirit to help us to make decisions that are beneficial to our city, that we may move things forward that will help our citizenry. We ask you to help us to have open minds, to discuss things, and the issues that are presented will be fully vetted, and people will be able to feel comfortable expressing their feelings. We thank thee for this beautiful area we have and the many blessings that we have in our life. We ask thy constant guidance in what we do and what we decide. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
So for the second item on the agenda, upcoming events. So we want to encourage everyone to check out our newsletter. The February newsletter is out now. We will be doing a full cemetery cleanup the first Monday in March. So gather all your items that you do not want thrown away. Additionally, one event that I want to make everyone aware of is I had an opportunity as Mayor Pro Tem to attend a meeting of the local cities. And in that meeting, got a chance to learn about a group called Battle Forged. And they're having an event up at Hill Air Force Base. So the Battle Forged Foundation is a nonprofit organization committed to supporting veterans, first responders, law enforcement, and their families through programs and partnerships that promote healing from service-related trauma. They address mental health challenges like PTSD and suicide. And they strengthen social connection and stability for individuals transitioning to civilian life. They focus on holistic support, shared experience, purpose-driven healing like equine therapy. And they're actually putting a new shooting range over in Plain City for law enforcement and veterans and first responders to use. But their upcoming event is February 28th at Hill Air Force Base at 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. The doors open at 3. It is free. Because it's on the Air Force Base, if you are a citizen or don't have access, then you will need to contact their chair. I've got their information. You can also go to their website at battleforgefoundation.com to get to fill out that you're interested in going. You do have to do that a week before the event. But they're going to have guest speakers. The executive from Grunt Style is going to be there speaking. They're going to have people talking about meditation for veterans. They're also going to have a comedy show and some country music by Jeff Lawrence, and a DJ, food, drinks. The whole family can go. And their dress code is wear your best cowboy or cowgirl boots. Their theme is dirt on my boots. And so a great opportunity to support veterans. One of the main things they said that I thought was just really cool was they encourage veterans to get out. People who've had PTSD to get out, and they host these events for people to spend time with them and network in the community. One of the guys that's the chairperson of that spent about 20 years in law enforcement, and he just talked about the heightened need for support of law enforcement officers who've gone through traumatic things and the high level of suicide rate. So I thought it was a great program. So as far as events coming up, if anyone in the city would like to attend, that's available. Has anyone else got any events that they want to share? All right. So with no more events, we will move on to our next item, public comments. So now we're going to open up public comments. Public comments, we allow for 3 minutes of comment from anybody in the public. Please come up and state your name. The reporter will make note of that, and then they will give you 3 minutes to speak at the podium. They will notify you when your time has expired, and after you're done speaking, we ask that you let the next person go. So we'll open this for public comments.
My name is Bruce Taylor. The real reason I'm here tonight is because I wasn't informed of last 27th meeting that went on, the fiasco with the budget meeting, with the last minute of putting on the itinerary that nobody could talk. I didn't come to that meeting because I didn't think I could say anything about it. And of course that meeting, we threw in there the mayor was here to fire Prince and Sheldon. 2 years ago, we voted in Mayor Bingham and Councilman Fowers. We started realizing the contention in the family and seeing how it was affecting Hooper City and Hooper City. They should have stepped down. It is horrible what has happened to this city and the hatred and the division it has caused. In the last 2 years, we have lost so many good people that seem to have a reflection back to our mayor. It has brought much pain and anguish to them, their families, and this whole community. At least 6 to 8 employees of this city in the last 2 years are gone. Mary Simpson, chairman of the planning committee, Amanda Prince, Sheldon Greener, Bryce Wilcox, Lisa, and even our lawyers were fired. That's just to name a few of the people we lost. Mayor Bingham, 3 or 4 months ago, a meeting was held to have all of her powers taken away. But in that meeting, Ryan Hill said no. He saved her from that action, believing that by having some private meetings, the council could try to work things out. Then last week, February 27th, when you were going to fire Prince and Greener, Ryan Hill once again spoke up with a plea that that was not what was to happen, it was not right, and he was fighting to save those people. He asked them to table this action, to not do what happened last week. And he asked to table that, and our mayor would not hear of it. For further discussion that it was not the right thing to do, you totally rejected his plan, and since now that our mayor has the votes, those 2 people were fired. Ryan Hill saved her at one time, and Ryan Hill was begging her to do a better thing and delay it for another week. Then for the third time, Hooper City is on Channel 4 News, looking as a train wreck. Let's just say, just what if? If our mayor and Dell would resign today, which would be the best thing for our city, I would put David Craig in as our mayor. He has the experience from other cities. He would have a fresh outlook and a new set of eyes that I believe could move this city into a positive direction. We would have new councilmen, Ropoletto and Hancock, that would support him moving forward. We would still have Ryan Hill, who at times in the last 4 years has been the glue that has held this council together. His knowledge and experience is needed as our city moves forward in a positive direction. Everybody knows.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, seeing no further comments, public comments are now closed. We're going to move to the consent items. The first consent item is the approval of minutes dated January 8th, 2026. And then the approval of minutes dated January 22nd, 2026. Is there any discussion or changes for those minutes?
On the 22nd, it does show me as present on 3 items. Towards the end, the closed door meeting, and then coming back in the closed door meeting, and the adjournment shows me as voting yes, and I was not present.
I saw the same. Similarly, on the January 8th, there's, at the end after the closed door meeting, there was a vote, a return to an open meeting, and a vote to purchase property. I was actually not in attendance because of technicality. I had called in, and then I was on Morgan's phone, and then her phone disconnected, and I was not actually present for that vote. But I did reach out to Morgan and Mary. They said they still had a quorum during that vote, but it says that I voted in those. I did not return from that closed door meeting. Any other comments or concerns on those minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve both January 8th and January 20th minutes as with the corrections.
I hear a motion, Councilmember Hill.
I'll second it.
And second for Councilmember Bowers.
Sorry, it was the 22nd, by the way.
All right, so I got a motion from Councilmember Hill and a second from Councilmember Bowers. Any discussion further? All right, so we'll have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we have no public hearings and no discussion items on our agenda. So we'll move to section 8, which is our action items. And we'll first start with the motion, the approval of the H.L. Parker extension request. And I'm going to hand this over for discussion to our city planner, Malcolm, if you want to talk.
Yeah, we have a. Can you hear me? It's not very well. All right. We have a development agreement in place that dates to April 15th, 21 for the H.L. Parker subdivision. We've done some extensions, and it expired on October 15th, 25 from the last extension. There's been a recommendation from the Planning Commission to extend the development or the developer's agreement for 1 more year. And that's what we are bringing forward today. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I got one question. I read that this started in like 2018, 2019. How can this the drug so long?
The application process could have very well started then. The rezone and I know there was some property dispute throughout the process early on, but the approval of the subdivision and the dating of the developer's agreement is on the 2021, and so that would kind of be the time frame of construction that I'd base it on. And there's been a few. I don't know if I'd speak to that personally, but yeah, it's taken this long. That's where we're at. So.
I'm here. I can talk.
Oh, I don't. Chris is on via Zoom. The developer is on via Zoom, so he could, if you'd like to hear from him, you could ask him specifically.
All right, anyone opposed to letting him speak up? All right, I think we'll allow it.
Chris, go ahead. You could explain the timeline.
So the delays we had in the beginning were you guys didn't have anybody in office that could sign the agreement that we needed, and then by the time that was filled, then we hit farmer season, and they wouldn't allow us to even touch the land while that water season was going on, so we were delayed 6 months there. And then once that was finalized, we did get a little bit done, and COVID came in, hit, some of the piping that we needed specifically was delayed or back ordered for a year, and so forth and so forth. And this is probably not time or place, but I'll tell you that Jared has been a very difficult to work with, and a lot of delays. So we're now done. It's all done. The only thing we need to do is put a fence in, but we're having some struggles there to put in a simple chain link fence. So that basically where we're at is just
Yeah, I think that's an important note to end on. We're close, regardless of where we were. It's really close. We need a land use separation fence, and the subdivision needs to be rough graded, and then this one would be recorded, and homes would be starting. That's where we're at. So the recommendation of the planning commission was to extend it for one more year to October 15th of 2026. I don't think we'll come close to that. Neither does Chris, but that's what we're.
So we're fairly confident it's actually going to get wrapped up this time, because I attended the planning commission meeting, the last one, and concerns were brought up about the neighbors even across the street, because the road is basically got crap all over, dirt all over from trucks going in and out, and I'm sure the neighbors in the area would definitely like to see this thing wrapped up and taken care of, and so that the road would be cleaned up. So I'm hoping that we have some semblance that this is in fact going to get taken care of this time out. I mean, you seem to believe that we're good, so I'm okay with that.
I know what's left on the project, and so the items that I mentioned are what need to be completed. That's all I know about the timeline or the completion of it.
Any other questions on this motion? Action item? Okay, well, hearing no other questions, I will entertain a motion on this if anyone would like to make it.
I'll motion that we approve the extension of the H.L. Parker request.
I have a motion from Councilman Hancock.
Will there be a date on that? Will there be a date, an extension to when?
The recommendation was for 1 year to October 15th of 1 year from the last extension. It's not 1 year from the 1 year from the prior extension would be October 15th.
So I'll modify that to the extension date of October 26th.
15th, 2026. Yeah.
2026, or that would be the date of the extension until that point in time.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Hancock. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Councilman Bowers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so our next action item is a motion for the approval of the City Council 2026 schedule. Should have seen in the back of your packet. This schedule is being proposed. Does anyone have any questions on the motion, on the schedule?
On the schedule we've got, I can count 8 city council meetings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I count 8 if it said possible council meetings. So in effect, we've already canceled those meetings. Why don't we just leave them on the schedule and cancel them if we don't need to have the meeting, rather than cancel them in January for the entire year? Does that make sense? I mean, we've never gone down this road before. I mean, if we need a council meeting, that's why we have it the first and third Thursdays of the month. It's already been scheduled, same with the planning commission. And then in the past, if we haven't had any agenda items, then we just send out a notice the week before, like we post our agenda the week before. The notice is made the week before, and we say meeting canceled for lack of agenda items. That's the process we followed in all the years I've been doing this. I'm not sure why we're pre-canceling city council meetings when we don't know what's coming up in the year.
I tend to agree with Ryan that we need to, and especially we have a lot of items that we have to deal with in the immediate future too. So yes, I think Ryan's suggestion is a good one, that we just plan on those meetings, and then if something happens that we don't have anything to talk about, we could in fact cancel them. But I don't see that happening anytime in the immediate future, that we won't have items to discuss.
I have one question for council. In this type of situation, is there
There is, because the code currently says that there needs to be 2 meetings a month. So
Okay.
we were working on a possibility of changing that so that it's 1, but that we can have a meeting in the same weeks.
So if we adopted this schedule, we'd be out of our own ordinance at that point.
Correct.
Okay, so that makes up now.
There's also 2 other meetings in July and September that we know will be canceled just because of the holidays, but, I mean, those are a given, but the other 8, I guess, apparently violate our code as well, so I'd recommend that we just keep the schedule as is and take off the possible council meeting line items.
I'm good with it because I already wrote on my calendar that we were gonna have it. I figured if we didn't, at least I was covered, so I'm all for it.
Okay.
I will just kind of give 2 cents because staff is important to this decision as well.
Yeah.
And I think that there is possibly something that will be on one of the agendas in the future to amend that code. And you may want to hear staff's perspective of it because we could consolidate and put all the information on 1 meeting a month, and then if we need another one. So I think there is a perspective from staff, but this discussion might come later if we
Sure.
amend the code.
No, I agree with that. I think that's what I've heard too, is that there's some considerations not only about timing, but how many we're having and what that imposes upon staff and their ability to attend and be here. They get a long day when we have a later meeting and they're working all day. Definitely something we should be considering when we're scheduling the meetings for them to be available and their time from their family and whatnot. But at this time, I think that we probably have some concern approving a schedule that goes against the ordinance as it stands. So we might want to not put the cart before the horse on that discussion in the first place. So, all right. So then I will entertain a motion or no motion to how we move forward. So is there a motion at all? Is there a motion to table it? A motion that I'll entertain anything, or we can just let it die?
I'll make the motion to approve the city council schedule 2026 minus the line items that say possible council meeting.
So clarifying that those are council meetings for those.
Correct. Those 8 line items are scheduled meetings.
And then that still allows us to talk with the staff to see. Does that still allow us to talk to the staff, or?
If the motion comes up later and we want to change the code, then yeah, this can be changed.
Okay, so we just
Later.
approve this and we'll be fine. Well, I'll second the motion.
All right. So we have a motion from Councilmember Hill and a second from Councilmember Robledo. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so our last action item that we have is a motion for the appointment of Planning Commission member Tucker Wade and the appointment of Planning Commission alternate Nathan Denny. And so the way we're going to do this is we want to make sure that we are moving on these individually, but we're going to give an opportunity for council to ask any questions that they might have on this. So we know that Councilmember Robledo, you had an opportunity to attend these interviews. So I'll give you an opportunity with the floor to bring anything up on these individuals. And then we would also ask the candidates step forward if there's any questions that the council has for them in this consideration. So Councilmember Robledo.
Yeah, I was invited to this meeting, and I appreciate all of those that came to the meeting, or for the interviews, and we didn't take it lightly. There were the same questions asked to every candidate or every applicant there. I know as a city councilman, I kind of didn't give my opinion a whole lot. At first I listened to the others. There was the mayor in there, Morgan, our city recorder, was in there for the first 4, and then she had another commitment, had to leave, and then our city planner, Malcolm, and our planning commission chairman, Jace McCormick, was in there. So after all these interviews were done, just a brief thing, They wanted to know my opinion. I says, no. I says, you guys have to convince me of who you want. And because I've got to call the other city councilman, and I talked to everybody. Dale and I, or Councilman Fowers and I, we just was playing phone tag and that. So, but the final thing was I wrote down my 2 picks and just put them on a paper. And I let everybody else talk, and I just listened to them and that, and they all came up with the same 2 that I put on my list. And so I was pretty impressed with the in-depth detail that each one of the other interviewers or whatever, what they talked about and discussed, the qualities. And I think that, or I don't think, I truly believe that we have 2 very good people coming on to our planning commission.
I think the public also would like to know who was on that with you on that committee.
Jason McCormick, Malcolm Jenkins, the mayor, and Morgan. Okay, yeah, so the 5 of us.
So if we could have first, Mr. Wade, would you mind coming to the podium, offer an opportunity for any of the council members to ask any questions? I do want to just start by saying thank you. Thank you for putting your hat in the ring to do this. Thank you for taking the time to go through the interview process. Thank you for subjecting yourself to public service and giving the opportunity to try to move our city forward. So open it up. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Wade?
I'll just comment. I was able to visit with Tucker last evening, and I don't know if I would really consider that an interview, but I think I got to know you, and hopefully you got to know a little more about me. And anyway, I just appreciate being able to visit with you, and I thought it was a real good discussion we had.
I didn't get an opportunity to meet you, but on your Facebook you got a black and white paint pony, and I also have a black and white horse. So I will tell you, I'm partial to those. I always like little girl bonanzas, so I appreciate that. But I will say Larry did get a great opportunity to speak to each of us, me in particular, and just spoke so highly of what you bring to the table. So I want to give you an opportunity, if no one has questions, to at least maybe tell us a little bit about you, and maybe even just your overall goal and what you hope to bring to this position.
Yeah, so my name's Tucker Waite. I grew up in Springville, down kind of south Utah County. My wife grew up in Uinta Highlands area. We met at Utah State. We have 3 kids. They're a lot of fun, keep me busy. Our first home was in South Ogden, just cramped in kind of by McKay-D, and that was obviously kind of how it works in that little tiny backyard. So we obviously were looking for something like this, and the house we're in came up, and it's been incredible. We've been there 5.5 years or so. It's just been an incredible place to raise my kids so far, and we've really enjoyed it. Love the open space, love the parks and the trails, and so I work for Weber County as an engineer, so I do a lot of development review. I work a lot with Planning Commission, County Commission, and I've learned that they're 2 different roles, right? And I realized that the Planning Commission has a major part in the growth of a city or county where I was working. And so I really like Hooper. I've really enjoyed it. I like the small town feel. So I want to kind of see it keep that way. Obviously, we all know there's kind of a housing crisis going on, and we need to do something to address that. And so I'd really like to be a part of that and help Hooper grow in a way that kind of keeps it how it is. So that's kind of, I guess, the goal that I have and wanting to be on the planning commission.
Where exactly do you live?
I live on just the same road here, 5600 on, or 5500, 5624 south. So just south of Sinclair, a few houses.
No, I did hear Springville's getting Buc-ee's. I don't know
Yeah,
how
we're
true
getting
that is.
Buc-ee's.
So I don't know if Buc-ee's is right for Hooper, but I do like a Buc-ee's. Any other comments or questions that anyone has for Mr. Wade? All right, so I would entertain a motion to consider Mr. Wade as approval to the planning commission?
Well, since I was the one that sat in there with him, I most definitely will make a motion to approve Tucker Waite as planning commission member.
All right, motion was made by Councilmember Robillard. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion of Councilmember Ruffalo to approve Mr. Wade as planning commission member and welcome him aboard.
Second was made by Councilmember Hancock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay for me.
I was just going to make the comment that I'm a little unhappy with the way the other two were taken off the planning commission. You know, I voted not to go that route. I didn't think that we should have just taken them off the planning commission like that. Each of them had terms to complete, and I just wanted to make that clear that I wasn't happy with the way that happened. However, having met with Tucker Waite, I will say aye to the approval of that.
All right, motion carries. All right, so now we are going to consider the approval of Mr. Nathan Denny as an alternate to the planning commission. And so we want to give Mr. Denny an opportunity to come up. And like I said to Mr. Witt, I just first want to thank you for putting your hat in the ring, being willing to serve in public service, and being willing to use your time and talent to help the city of Hooper. And so anybody have any questions for Mr. Denny or Mr. Robillard? Would you like to speak to him at all?
No, it was about the same, what I would have just said with Tucker there, so we appreciate you coming in and impressed with you. But go ahead and tell them a little bit about you, who you are and that, so, I mean, I heard it all yesterday, but go for it.
So I'm Nate Denny. I grew up in Layton most of my life. Me and my wife got married and we moved pretty much immediately to Western Weber County. We've lived in Western Weber County between West Haven and Hooper for 20 years now, and we've just fallen in love with everything that it has to offer. We, similarly to Tucker Waite, we love the small town feel, the presence of the community, everything that we've found out here, and we want to be a part of the solution to be able to grow in a healthy way, to keep it a happy place that people want to live, and we have neighbors that love each other and we get along great. I have worked professionally in the construction world my whole life. I own a business where we clean and we video inspect underground pipeline. So we do a lot of work with sewers and storm drains and water lines, things like that. So I have a unique perspective with that from my experience there. I've since sold the business, no longer own it. I still do work there, but we'll see how long that lasts. I pride myself on my ability to think with logic, to be fairly level-headed, and to try to see both sides of the story, try to fully understand perspectives and everything like that. So that's what I hope to be able to bring and contribute to the team.
I find it really impressive you talk about how well you get along with your neighbors wearing that New York Giants outfit, so that's great. We don't always have to see eye to eye to get along, and I love that.
It's been a depressing 10 years, so we're fighting through it.
Any other comments for Mr.
I'd like to ask Councilman Robillard, was anybody small at the interview? We're getting a really large planning commission.
Yes, Jenny was very small.
Just kidding, we wouldn't consider those things.
He's not a real big guy, so
Yeah,
probably is looking for.
I don't take that into consideration at all. Any other comments or questions or anything that we have for Mr. Denny?
Where do you live?
I live on 4000 South, 5100 West, just west of that intersection. It's the old Hole property that used to be a cornfield just a couple years ago. My family, we bought that property, split it into 2 lots, and we own one of the lots where we live.
All right, well, that being said, I would also consider an approval of Nathan Denny as an alternate to the planning commission. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion once again to approve Nathan Denny as a planning commission member alternate.
Motion was made by Councilmember Roboletto. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Flowers. Any discussion on this before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay for me. And I will say, it's nothing personal to you two. It's just out of the principle that I was against the changing of the ordinance and dismissing the two previous commission members. So nothing personal to you two, but it's a nay vote for me as well.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so what we'd like to do is give some time over to our deputy recorder. Jamie Johnston is going to actually swear them in for us before we move on to the next item. So if we could have that ceremony.
It's all words, it's not my house.
She didn't tell you you had to hold hands.
All right, let's start with. Yep.
Tucker.
Okay, repeat after me. I, state your name,
I, Tucker Waite,
have been appointed
have been appointed
to the office of Hooper City Planning Commission.
to the office of Hooper City Planning Commission.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
and I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Nathan, repeat after me. I, state your name,
I, Nathan Denny,
have been appointed
have been appointed
to the office of Hooper City Planning Commission.
to the office of Hooper City Planning Commission.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
And afterwards, just fill these out.
Congratulations to you both. All right, our last item on the agenda is a possible closed meeting. Item 9 is a possible closed meeting concerning matters permitted under Utah Code, including litigation, real property, security, or personnel matters. Is there anyone who has a wish for a motion to move us to a closed meeting tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on. The last item is an adjournment. If I could get a motion, I'd entertain this adjournment.
I'll motion to